lecturer in food. My name is Dr. Jonas Cromwell. I'm a lecturer in food security here at the university at the School of Food Science and Nutrition. My background and work more on agro-food system project in Africa over the past 5 years. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this virtual seminar of the Global Food and Environment Institute, focusing on reducing food waste, behavioral insight for climate action, which would be presented by Dr. Gulbanu Kaptan. Dr. Gulbanu is an associate professor in behavioral decision making here at the university at the Leeds Business School. The GFA is an interdisciplinary research community which brings together members from across academia, industry, and public policy to work on interrelated challenges of food security and climate change. For further information on the work of GFEI, please visit our website, which you can access through the chat. This seminar is part of a series of seminars that we organize. So please check the check function and the link to see on Eventbrite the various programs or some webinars that has been advertised. You can also find more information on our website or follow us on Blue Sky, which is Global Food Athletes, Global Food Leads, Blue Sky on social media, and we are also on LinkedIn as well. Before I introduce Dr. Gulbanu, I would like to remind you, please keep your camera and microphone off. The presentation itself will take about 20 minutes, and then we have 10-minute Q&A at the end. And the seminar is being recorded and will be made available via our YouTube channel after the webinar. So please, I will hand over to Dr. Gulbanu Kaptan. Please do take over.
Thank you, Jonas. I'm just waiting for everyone to review the slide in case they may need. I can't change the slide. Interesting.
If you press enter, you should move to the next.
It was working earlier, so it just locked. Can I just stop sharing and come back?
Yep. If that would work, stop sharing and then reshare your slide again.
Sorry, everyone. It should be okay. Just before we start, I was telling something always goes wrong with those online presentations, and it happened. Okay. I hope I have the control to share and to control the slides, so I will try again. Okay, share screen, share.
Yes, it's on now.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Take it away.
Yeah, here I am. Hello, everyone. Sorry about it. But there's always one thing happens. So I hope it is the first and last one. So welcome, everyone. I'm delighted to give a GFEI talk today on how behavioral science can help us design effective interventions to reduce food waste levels and contribute to climate action. I will provide an overview of 2 research projects I have been involved in. Since I only have 20 minutes, please think of this as a snapshot rather than a deep dive, highlighting the main findings and takeaways. If you are interested in reviewing the projects further, links to my relevant publications are included on my slides and in the GFVI invitation you received, and I think also in the chat box you will have these publications. I want to make a start with a key question. Why do we need behavior change to tackle household food waste as part of climate action? To answer this, I will share the scale and impact of food loss and waste globally based on statistics from UNEP and FAO reports. As you may already know, 32% of food produced for human consumption is lost or wasted across pre and post-retail, leading to environmental consequences. These loss and waste contribute to 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions, nearly 5 times higher than the emissions from aviation. Beyond environmental impacts, there are economic and social impacts too. The economic cost is around $1 million trillion annually, and it is estimated to rise up to $1.5 trillion by 2050. Socially, this translates into the loss of 1 billion meals every single day, a striking consequence. My research focuses on household food waste, which makes approximately 60% of food waste at the post-retail level. And household food waste is the largest contributor in both developed and developing countries. As a result, there's a need to design effective behavior change interventions to reduce food waste because it's a climate action with environmental, economic, and social benefits. The next question is, how do we change behavior at household level? To answer this, I will share insights from the work delivered by the European Consumer Food Waste Forum between 2021 and 2024. The forum consisted of 5 academics and practitioner researchers with expertise in consumer food waste. I had the privilege of being one of them and one of the 2 from the UK. The project was funded by the European Parliament and coordinated by the European Commission. Its goal was to create tools and share best practices to inform future behavior change interventions aiming to reduce consumer food waste. This slide summarizes the key activities and outputs of the forum. First, we reviewed evidence on the drivers of household food waste and the levers for behavior change. This was the start. And this work resulted in a literature review paper published in Sustainable Production and Consumption, as you see on the slide. Next, we evaluated a set of interventions using agreed criteria. I will talk about it in a bit. This evaluation led to recommendations for future research and for designing effective interventions. The results and recommendations were published in an EC technical report titled Evaluation of Consumer Food Waste Prevention Interventions. And in the following slides, I will share some of these recommendations. Finally, we developed a compendium of evidence-based tools and best practices for European countries. This was also published as an EC technical report and represents the main outcome of the project, capturing all steps and outputs of the forum. The links to all these 3 resources are on the slide, and I think you also have it in the chat box. I can't see it right now, but it is how we talked earlier. Regarding our work on the evaluation of existing interventions, we reviewed 78 interventions designed to reduce food waste at the consumer level. These interventions were primarily implemented by NGOs, such as RAP, by research teams in universities, and through multi-stakeholder partnerships, councils and NGO, university, etc. The most common intervention types were tools and prompts for food storage and preparation, coaching for households, and school-based programs for children. Our evaluation framework included a set of criteria shown on the right side of the slide. Quality of the intervention design was about providing aims and objectives and appropriate target levels. So we looked for whether the intervention provided aims and objectives clearly and mentioned the target levels. Regarding effectiveness, we looked for evidence of food waste reduction or behavior change, like in percentages or in a quantitative way. For efficiency, the criterion was effectiveness as a ratio of the resources spent. Regarding the sustainability over time, we assessed for how long the effect of the intervention lasted. We also assessed the transferability and scalability of the interventions to a different context or geographical area and whether they can be scaled. And the last one was perceived wider systemic effects, for example, school-level interventions targeting children, but also reaching parents. So all these interventions were collated, and then we shared these interventions and reviewed and evaluated them based on certain criteria that was developed by the JCR. And the reason why we did this, because the evaluation is really important because there were many interventions out, but there are very few studies that evaluated those interventions. This slide highlights the key limitations of the interventions that we evaluated, with suggestions of knowledge gaps that need further research. First, most interventions lacked segmentation and targeting, meaning they weren't tailored to specific groups. Second, the interventions that we evaluated rarely employed financial incentives or communicated social norms. Therefore, their potential effectiveness remained unknown. So there was research showing that they are promising, but they were not considered. Third, spillover effects were mostly overlooked, even though they should have been. An intervention in one setting can influence another, and it's really important. For example, you do a school level intervention, and then you also affect parents' behavior. Here, some types of interventions also were, I was just, okay, I couldn't see the title of the slide, so I just thought whether I mixed up the slides. No. So these are the conclusions to help with future intervention design. Our evaluation showed that some interventions were more effective than others. For example, interventions that use community involvement and or strong collaboration with stakeholders were generally successful. Interventions disrupting daily routines like meal planning apps showed promising results. Highly tailored interventions work well, particularly when targeted consumers willingly sign up for the intervention. In relation to this, personalized coaching showed the highest level of effectiveness among interventions, with up to 67% reduction in food waste. In conclusion, however, there isn't a single ultimate intervention to reduce consumer food waste. Large-scale impact requires a combination of approaches, and a key recommendation is to identify hotspots, such as groups that waste the most, where waste mostly occurs, and the food products most commonly wasted, so that interventions can be better targeted. And in the remainder of my talk, I will focus on my research on hotspots. I'm aware that I just had like 7-8 slides on the European Consumer Food Waste Forum work, although it was a 3-year project. But I'm sure you will find the sources helpful. Although, of course, we don't have a very striking solution, which is very nearly impossible to do. But these are guiding principles, I think, for a better future, design better interventions. It's how I see them. Regarding hotspots that I just mentioned, I would like to briefly share a study on how sociodemographic factors and food management behaviors affect household food waste, along with recommendations for future research and intervention design. This study was published in Sustainable Production and Consumption recently. It was conducted in collaboration with my colleagues at RAP, Tom Questet and Marcel Toredo. Another collaborator was Chuyao Kwang from the Leeds University Business School and a brilliant PGR. Earlier, I mentioned the importance of identifying hotspots for effective interventions. 2 key questions that guide this are: which households waste the most food, and what behaviors are linked to this waste? Another question is about what foods are wasted more, but in this study, we did not include that question. So the first question relates to sociodemographic characteristics, and the second one to food management behaviors. Food management behaviors are proximal behaviors, including planning meals, shopping, storing, cooking, and reusing leftovers. Our study aimed to answer these questions using waste composition analysis, which directly measures household food waste by sorting and weighing it, which is a very difficult way of, complicated way of collecting data on food waste, and very expensive but reliable. I would like to talk a little about previous research. Regarding previous research on waste composition analysis, direct measurement of food waste, this is very limited. Existing waste composition analysis studies focused on sociodemographics, not on food management behaviors. And regarding research on the effects of sociodemographics on household food waste, they largely based on self-reported food waste, and findings are inconsistent. Except for 2 sociodemographics, age and household size. That is, older people waste less food, and larger households waste more overall, but less per person. For food management behavior related research, most evidence also comes from self-reported food waste, but some consistent trends emerge. For example, leftover reusing and planning meals are associated with less self-reported food waste. And actually, this is a study, Bretter et al. Is a study I was involved in. It was an ESRC project that I led. The second one is making shopping lists and buying the right amount of food, which reduce food waste levels. And there's evidence from direct measurement studies as well about those. As a result, the aim of our study was to assess the effects of sociodemographics and food management behaviors on directly measured food waste. Sociodemographics included age, gender, income, education, working status, household size, and living situation, whereas food management behaviors included planning, shopping, storing, cooking, and reusing leftovers. So in the questionnaire, there are items related to those behaviors, and sociodemographic questions, sociodemographic characteristics. Regarding the sample composition, 39% were over 64 years old, 63% were females, and 61% had a high school education or below. We analyzed two data sets, VCA data provided by RAP, kindly, which directly measured food waste by sorting and weighing, and questionnaire data, again provided by RAP, including sociodemographics, knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors. We assessed the relationship between the weight of edible food waste for each household and their sociodemographic and food management behaviors by applying generalized linear modeling. The results show that respondents aged over 64 wasted significantly less food than the younger age groups. Regarding education, respondents with up to university degrees wasted significantly more food than those with higher degrees. We couldn't find any other significant results regarding sociodemographics. So this was about the relationship between sociodemographics and directly measured food waste, the waste collected from the bins. When looking at food management behaviors, here, three of them stood out: buying the right amount of food and reusing leftovers. These were linked to less food waste. Defrosting items from the freezer, however, was associated with more food waste. I will discuss them in the next slide. So I will summarize the main results and compare them with previous research. We found age as significant sociodemographic characteristic. Participants over 64 wasted less food than younger groups. This aligns with earlier studies using both self-reported and waste composition analysis data. Earlier research attributed older people's lower food waste to their personal experiences with food scarcity during and after World War II. Others explained this with older people's resistance to promotional offers and their lower impulse buying. Regarding education, participants with a university degree or higher wasted less food than those without. This contrasts with previous studies that found higher education linked to more self-reported food waste. Differences may be due to location of these studies in different countries, how education levels were classified in different countries, or of course, there can be other unmeasured factors correlated with education and made the results and then led to these results. Therefore, our finding about education highlights the need for further research. Regarding food management behaviors, three behaviors stand out: buying the right amount of food and reusing leftovers, both linked to reducing food waste. These findings are consistent with previous reviews, actually, not only a few research, but with previous reviews, and highlight potential intervention points. Buying the right amount of food and reusing leftovers. For example, retailers could redesign grocery environment to support these behaviors. It might be one implication of this result. And on the other hand, defrosting behavior was associated with higher food waste. This is in line with some previous research showing that freezers, while meant for preservation, can become waiting rooms for surplus items, leading to waste. However, this area, freezer management behaviors, needs further research. To close, I would like to share a quote from my collaborator, Dr. Tom Quested, senior specialist at RAP with leading publications in the field. Tom posted on LinkedIn after our paper was published in Sustainable Production and Consumption. And this is from his post, and I agree, I totally agree with the conclusion. The relationship between behaviors and levels of food waste is complex. To really understand what might lead to less food waste, we need to keep testing, piloting, and evaluating interventions using this type of insight to guide their design. So we need to keep going. This code also reflects what I strive to do, particularly with my PhD students and their projects. Corinne worked as an array on the RAP project that I presented. Her PhD project focuses on improving leftover reuse behaviors, and it's a sort of a follow-up from that project that she worked as an array, because improving leftover reuse is one of the outcomes of the project. Cheney designs creative interventions to reduce food waste and promote healthy eating. Her focus is on imperfect produce. Tan focuses on fridge management to improve food safety behaviors with links to food waste, because my other area of research is improving food safety behaviors, and there also we found that fridge management is indeed important and something we need to research further. I would like to thank you very much for joining this session and listening my talk. I'm aware it was a snapshot, but hope it was helpful. Very happy to answer any questions you have or discuss anything you would like to do. Now I would like to turn over to Jonas.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kaptan, for the excellent presentation. I would want to reiterate that if you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat and we would communicate it for Dr. Kaptan to answer. But to kind of get us started, you mentioned that household food waste contribute 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions. From your perspective and from the work that you've done, which behavior changes at the household level have the greatest potential to reduce this impact, and why?
Yeah, so I think this was the last part of my slides. So there are 3 behaviors that seems significantly associated with lower food waste levels. One is buying the right amount of food and reusing leftovers. These are 2 important behaviors. And it is in line with the literature as well. And then, as I said, we have an issue with defrosting behaviors, but we need to conduct further research how defrosting food or how we manage the freezer affect food waste levels.
Yeah, thank you very much. On picking on the food management behaviors, especially with relating to defrosting from freezers, which is associated with higher food waste. Do you think this behavior leads to more waste, and what are some of the practical strategies that could help mitigate the issue?
I was looking at the questions in the chat box, Jonas. Is it the comment that you talk about, or is it a question of yourself?
It's a question from myself.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask you to repeat?
Yeah. So
sorry.
I was saying that following on from the discussion on freezer management. You highlighted that defrosting items from the freezer was associated with higher food waste.
Yes.
And the question is, what do you think this behavior leads to more waste, and what practical strategies could help
Okay.
mitigate the issue?
Yeah, okay. Sorry about it. Of course, it's a speculation. So because we didn't conduct a further study yet on defrosting behaviors, but it seems that I'm referring to the literature. So as I shared in my slides, there is a research from David Evans. He argues that the surplus food that we put in the fridge just waits there. So when we have leftovers or some surplus food, we just put them in the fridge. This might be one reason. We put them in the freezer, and then we feel happy about it because it's not wasted. But it might be the case that some of these food is wasted. So we feel happy about putting all those into the waiting room with David Evans's words. But at the end, some of them are wasted, unfortunately. There were other studies. I'm just there is another study actually by Karunasena et al. They do great research in Australia as well. They also found that food waste in the freezer is poorly managed. And if I'm not wrong, RAP also they had a question in their survey, and according to the answer, their interpretation was that people discard food in the freezer because they forget some of these foods and rarely use it and then discard. But to develop sort of an intervention or to find practical solutions, we first need to be more sure whether there's a problem there, and then try interventions as Tom suggested, designing, piloting, testing, and see how it will work.
Okay, thank you very much for those responses. I want to pick a question from the chat. In fact, there are two. I'll start with the one from Cynthia. So that my question is, considering food waste generation is complex and occasionally linked to socio-economic changes, we see that with household food waste generation pre or post-COVID, how sustainable are these interventions? i.e., what is their span of effectiveness? How many years would those interventions be effective? And are there any other interventions that becomes necessary before they become necessary?
Okay, I'm also reading it, just a second. Yeah, this is a very, very good question. And actually, this is one of the reasons why European Commission gathered experts to evaluate interventions, because when we sit and started evaluating the interventions, yes, there are very creative interventions, and all of them claim some amount of reduction in food waste, but sustainability was not well covered. Usually they just do one intervention, get the results, and repeat it like a few months after or during a year. So we don't follow them. At least we couldn't see any that's like a longitudinal study. But in a way, because it is costly and it is not easy in terms of research, working with the same people and following their food waste. I will come to COVID as well. However, what I think is maybe now I'm, for example, I am interested in AI, AI-led apps, AI-guided apps to reduce food waste. If we can design effective interventions with these, then we can follow up and then see the effectiveness of the intervention. And another aspect is the efficiency. There isn't much data about efficiency because most researchers don't calculate the resources spent. They don't compare the effectiveness with respect to the resources spent. This is another issue. And COVID, I think we all know that during COVID, food waste levels drastically dropped across the UK. And this is one of the reasons, actually, I was awarded an ESRC grant with RAP from the ESRC, because I found it quite interesting at the time that the food waste levels dropped during COVID. And we thought that the idea was, okay, this happened, so how can we make it sustainable? However, it turned out that people stayed at home. Staying at home was a big factor. So because the context changed, people's behavior changed. And then following the COVID, context changed again. And the food waste levels changed. And then we had higher levels of food waste compared to COVID times. So social context is really important to change behavior, and changing behavior is very challenging. I hope I could answer the question enough.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we'll just have 1 or 2 minutes left, and I'll pick the last one from Kelly. Kelly is saying that he's working in the biogas industry and is wondering whether there has been, your studies have had any interaction with circular economy and then household food waste, and how can that benefit the biogas industry?
Mm-hmm. I found it very interesting, actually. So I don't know much about that part of the story. So because I'm a social scientist, not environmental scientist, and my research is focused on household food waste. The only research that I conducted relevant to this was the reuse of not food waste, but not used fresh produce to make other things like ketchup from tomatoes that were not used and were about to be wasted. So it was some years ago. It was a Research England project. There is a lot of research on it. But in terms of biogas, yeah, I think it's what we need. This is one way of dealing the problem, at least to find a way to make use of the waste that shouldn't have happened. But I appreciate the comment, really, and I'm glad to see the efforts on that area too.
Okay, thank you very much, and want to thank you for joining today's session and for tuning in. The recordings for this session will be made available via our YouTube channel. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you, Captain, for the presentation and for the questions that came through as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, everyone.